Right now, somewhere on the planet, someone is laughing. Not because something is funny, not because they're happy, but because another person laughed first. You've done this. You've laughed at something you didn't fully understand, or at a joke you didn't quite hear, simply because the people around you were laughing. You couldn't help it. It just happened. And here's the thing. That reflex, that completely involuntary, contagious, sometimes embarrassing response is not a quirk. It's not a social habit you picked up somewhere. It's one of the oldest and most important technologies the human species has ever developed. And it almost certainly saved your life. Not yours specifically, but the life of every single ancestor you've ever had. Let's go back to where it started. Humans have been laughing for a very long time. Longer than we've had language, longer than we've had fire-making tools, longer, possibly, than we've been fully human. We know this because laughter didn't start with us. In 2009, researcher Morena de Villaros at the University of Portsmouth conducted a study that would quietly reshape how scientists think about humor, evolution, and the social brain. She recorded the vocalizations of great apes, chimpanzees, bonobos, gorillas, orangutans during play, specifically during tickling and rough-and-tumble games. What she found was unmistakable. Every single one of those species produced a panting, rhythmic vocalization when playing, a sound that, when you hear it, is immediately recognizable. They were laughing. Not the same laugh as ours. Ape laughter is breathy and rapid, produced on both the inhale and the exhale, whereas human laughter typically happens on the exhale only. But the structure, the trigger, the social context, identical. Which means laughter is at least 10 to 16 million years old. That's when the evolutionary lineage of modern great apes and humans diverged. Laughter predates our species by an almost incomprehensible margin. But that raises the real question. Why did it survive? Evolution is ruthless about efficiency. Every trait that sticks around does so because it helps organisms survive and reproduce. Laughter is loud. It's involuntary. It draws attention. In a world full of predators, making noise for no obvious survival reason seems like a spectacular way to get eaten. So why are we still doing it? The answer starts with a problem that ancient humans faced, a problem so fundamental that it shaped almost every aspect of our psychology. Living in groups is complicated. Humans are intensely social animals. We have been for at least 300,000 years, and our ancestors before us for much longer. We live in groups, hunt in groups, raise children in groups, defend territory in groups. The group is survival. Alone, an early human was dead within days. But groups require trust, and trust is hard. How do you know the person sleeping next to you isn't going to take your food? How do you know this stranger from the neighboring camp is safe to trade with? How do you signal quickly and reliably that you are not a threat, that you are, in fact, someone worth cooperating with? This is what evolutionary psychologists call the social bonding problem, and it's one of the oldest challenges in human history. Grooming, the kind you see in chimpanzees, where one individual picks through another's fur, is one solution. Physical touch releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone. It builds trust. It signals safety. But grooming has a hard limit. You can only groom one individual at a time. As human groups grew larger, and they did grow significantly, grooming simply couldn't scale. Something else had to fill the gap. Robin Dunbar, the British anthropologist famous for proposing Dunbar's number, the theory that humans can maintain stable social relationships with roughly 150 people, has spent decades arguing that laughter is essentially vocal grooming, a way to trigger the same oxytocin-releasing, trust-building, bond-cementing response as physical touch, but at scale. When you laugh with someone, your brain releases endorphins. When a group laughs together, Multiple people's brains release endorphins simultaneously. A moment of shared laughter does in seconds what grooming would take minutes to achieve, and it works on an entire room at once, not just two individuals. This is why laughter is contagious. This is why it's involuntary. This is why hearing other people laugh makes you more likely to laugh, even when nothing is objectively funny. Your brain is not responding to humor. Your brain is responding to a social signal that says, these people are safe. This is my group. I can relax. But laughter does something else, something more specific and more powerful than just bonding. It establishes hierarchy without violence. This part gets underappreciated. Think about what happens when you make someone laugh. You feel good, they feel good. You are perceived as more likable, more trustworthy, more intelligent. People who make others laugh are almost universally more socially influential than people who don't. Now think about what happens when you try to make someone laugh and fail. The silence is devastating. The social cost is immediate and real. Humor is a high-stakes performance. It requires you to understand your audience, model their expectations, subvert those expectations in a way that is surprising but not threatening, and deliver the subversion with precise timing. This is genuinely cognitively demanding. It requires theory of mind, the ability to model what another person is thinking and predict their reaction. Researchers, including Dr. Gil Greengrass at University, have found consistent evidence that individuals who score higher on measures of humor production, the ability to be genuinely funny, not just to try also score higher on general intelligence measures. The correlation is not enormous, but it is real and it replicates. Being funny is hard, and the people who could do it well, who could diffuse tension, build coalitions, signal intelligence, and generate trust simultaneously through a single well-timed joke had a measurable social advantage in early human groups. They got more allies, they got more access to resources, they were more likely to survive conflict through social maneuvering rather than physical confrontation. In other words, humor may have been one of the earliest forms of political power. Now here's where it gets genuinely strange. Laughter is the only human vocalization that has its own dedicated neural pathway. Your brain processes laughter differently from speech, from music, from crying. There is a specific circuit in the brain involving the limbic system, the brain, and the motor cortex that is activated by genuine laughter and is largely outside conscious control. You cannot fully fake a real laugh. You can produce the sounds of laughter voluntarily, but the brain processes authentic laughter, the kind triggered by genuine amusement, differently from posed laughter, and other people's brains can tell the difference. Not consciously, but reliably. This matters for trust. A real laugh is a biological signal that is extremely difficult to fake convincingly. When someone genuinely laughs with you, it is one of the most reliable signals you can receive that they are not currently lying to you, not currently pretending, not currently performing a social mask. This is why laughter in negotiations, in conflict resolution, in romantic contexts, carries such outsized weight. It's not just pleasant. It's an involuntary honesty signal. And here's the part that I find most remarkable. Laughter can be triggered by things that are not funny at all. Nervous laughter. Laughter at funerals. Laughter when you're embarrassed. Laughter when you're afraid. Laughter when you receive very bad news. These are real phenomena, and they happen across cultures, across languages, and across age groups. Researchers have argued that this category of laughter in the absence of humor, is actually the more ancient form. That laughter began not as a response to jokes, but as a response to relief, to the sudden release of tension, to the moment when a threat turns out not to be a threat after all. Imagine a scenario: a group of early humans hears a noise in the darkness. Everyone tenses. Adrenaline spikes, and then the source of the noise turns out to be harmless. A falling branch, a small animal, nothing dangerous. And the group laughs. that laughter does several things simultaneously. It releases the physiological tension that had been building. It signals to every member of the group that the threat has passed more quickly and clearly than words could. And it bonds the group through the shared experience of fear followed by relief. Humor, actual jokes, actual wit may have evolved later as the social brain became more sophisticated, as a way to deliberately trigger that same relief response, that same bonding signal, in the absence of a real threat. A way to manufacture the social benefits of shared danger without anyone actually being in danger. A joke, in other words, is a threat that turns out not to be a threat. One more piece of this story, one that connects directly to you. Humans laugh approximately 17 times per day on average, according to research by Robert Provine, a neuroscientist at the University of Maryland who spent years studying laughter in natural social settings. But, and this is the part that surprises most people, less than 20% of that laughter is in response to something genuinely funny. The vast majority of human laughter is social lubrication. It follows statements, not jokes. It signals agreement, attention, engagement. It says, I am here. I am with you. I am not a threat. You do this constantly. You laugh at things your boss says that aren't quite funny enough to deserve it. You laugh when someone else laughs, even when you missed what they were laughing at. You laugh when you're nervous, when you're uncomfortable, when you don't know what else to do. Every single one of those laughs is ancient. Every one of them is your brain running a social program that was written before the first human civilization, before the first language, before the first stone tool. You think you're just having a conversation, but underneath it, your nervous system is constantly sending and receiving signals that your ancestors used to stay alive, build coalitions, and navigate the most dangerous social landscape any animal has ever faced. The next time someone makes you laugh, really laugh, the kind that comes out before you can stop it, notice it. That sound has been keeping humans together for 16 million years, and it's still working.